Hi, Lori here. I'm very much a beginner when it comes to using the drop spindle. One of the tips I do recommend, however, is what's known as pre-drafting. And basically that is just taking your roving or your fibers and pulling them apart until you've got what is a comfortable length and thickness with which to work. If you find that the roving simply will not pull apart, that's because you have your hands too close together while you're pulling one end from the other. Depending on what type of roving it is, whether it's from sheep or alpaca or whatever the animal might be, the length of the fibers in that roving will vary. And depending on that length will dictate how far apart your hands have to be in order to separate the roving. I do not use a leader to attach my fiber to the hook on my drop spindle. I just attach the fiber itself and begin spinning the spindle. I use what's known as the park and draft method, meaning I will spin the spindle to put some twist in the fiber, and then I will put the spindle between my knees, which is known as parking, and then I will pinch the part of the yarn that has already been twisted. So with my right hand, I'm holding it and then letting go while holding the fiber with my right hand approximately 3, 4, 5, 6 inches above. And then when I let go of my left hand, the twist from the spindle will transfer up into the fiber, thereby making yarn. Once I have a length of about 12 to 18 inches of twisted fiber or yarn, I will then wrap that length onto the bottom of the spindle and begin the process again with the roving. To splice one end of roving to another, you simply take about 2 or 3 inches, lay one on top of the other, overlapping again around 2 or 3 inches, and that should be sufficient to connect the two pieces. Here I am spinning a different type of fiber. It's not as chunky or thick. It was probably much easier to work with than the orange, more coarse fiber. Should also mention it does not matter which way you spin your drop spindle, whether it be counterclockwise or clockwise. You just have to pick one direction and stick with that. You cannot be switching back and forth. There's a little slot on the side of my drop spindle. I don't remember the name of the part, but the big round circle. And I use that slot to insert the last bit of yarn that I made after the twisting was done. It anchors it there, so it allows me then to continue on and just spin more roving. Okay, the part of the drop spindle that has the notch in it is called the whorl, W-H-O-R-L. And then the stick part is called the shaft. And depending on what style drop spindle you have, you will either have that whorl at the top of the shaft or at the bottom of the shaft. The drop spindle that I have is at the top of the shaft. After you've filled up the shaft of your drop spindle, you need to transfer the yarn that you've made onto what's known as a niddy noddy. And this is going to help in the process of setting the yarn. The setting of the yarn is actually what takes out any remaining twist in the yarn so that it does not kink back onto itself. If you were to just take it off your drop spindle, it would just, kink up on you. So here I'm transferring the yarn from the shaft of the drop spindle onto this homemade niddy noddy made out of PVC pipe. And there are better videos out there on how to do this. But basically you're just securing it in such a way that it's not going to get all mangled up on you, so that you're going to have a difficult time getting it off the niddy noddy. Once you've wrapped it to the niddy noddy, you take it to the bathtub and you soak the niddy noddy with its yarn on it in warm water for about 20 minutes. That helps, again, sets the yarn. There's also a process called flacking, where you take the yarn and after you've taken it off the niddy noddy and have it in skeins, you actually take the skeins and whack them against a hard surface. This supposedly strengthens the yarn, particularly if you're going to use it for any type of weaving or knitting or crocheting. After removing the yarn from the niddy noddy while it's still damped, you can add weight to it to help also take any remaining kink out of it. Here I've just taken the skein and put it over a doorknob and have hung a wooden hanger from it just to give it a little bit of weight. And I leave it here until the yarn is thoroughly dry. And there you have it, my first attempt at making yarn with a drop spindle. If you've enjoyed this, please subscribe. I mostly deal with videos working in mixed media, art journals, glue books, etc.